But
Yeah, well,
we're
it's
glad.
great to see everybody. Thanks for
Yeah,
showing up.
and happy St. Patrick's Day, Trav.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you as well, Jared. Everybody. Yeah, have you guys been talking about St. Patty's Day?
A slight bit. We just started class about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah,
So we started off the class listening to some Flogging Molly in an acoustic version, and,
nice.
and that was a nice intro. We talked about they're from Ireland and pretty popular over there. Did you ever listen to Flogging Molly or Dropkick Murphys in the 90s?
No, it wasn't my. Were they kind of a ska band? Are those ska bands kind of, or
I feel like they're like punk, kind of like
yeah,
yeah, just like pretty loud and kind of yelly is how I would describe it.
totally. Any like, do they have any like brass instruments or anything like that?
I didn't see any of those.
Okay, okay,
Lots of guitars, an accordion, the occasional bagpipe on on blast. You
that's
know,
awesome.
but you look like you are somewhere really cool right now. Like you in your home studio, buddy.
Yeah, this is like this is the TV room over there at least, and then I got my little corner where you can see where the roof line comes down. But yeah, if you want to be a musician as a working adult, you got to just stake your claim and say this is going to be my part of the house.
Yeah. Has your part of the house gotten smaller over time, or have you been able to hold your ground?
I moved out of a garage from the last place we lived to. I mean, now it's the weather's so much nicer indoors, so that's or in an insulated part of the house, so I can't complain.
How are the acoustics up there? I guess we'll find out, right?
Yeah, they're not that good, but beggars can't be choosers. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you have for instruments behind you? I see some different ones there. Can we take a
Yeah,
glance?
yeah. I have a 12-string guitar, which this is a new instrument for me, but very folky, very folky. But it's also played a lot on like heavy metal songs too. I think Led Zeppelin kind of started that. So the intro to an awesome metal song will have a lot of 12 string, but it's just a regular guitar with each each string also has like a second one, like a smaller, skinnier one. So it's a higher sound. Um, and it's with music, it's another octave. So when you're like plucking an E string, you get like a deep E and a high E, like an E in another octave. So when you play a chord, it has this kind of watery echo to it, which is really cool. But yeah, it's been around for that technology's been around for a long time, so it's definitely a folk instrument. And then I got just a regular 6-string. It's got a drum set, bass guitar, got some ukuleles because those are really fun. Yeah, electric stuff and acoustic stuff. I've
That's
uh,
rad, man.
I've just been
You could
collecting things. Yeah.
Yeah, you could totally have like a jam up there with some like more than just you. You got a lot of instruments, right?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I can't wait for COVID to be over. I'm gonna invite more friends over.
Have you written any songs in the COVID? Have you been doing some songwriting? Just curious.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's still busy at work. I work at a winery and luckily we're still working, but yeah, I'm always writing songs.
cool, dude. Well, we're gonna like learn about folk this week. We're kind of in the country theme, and we've invited you on, and you've been so cordial to say yes to play a couple folk songs and answer some questions about you and the folk music,
Yeah,
and just spend a little time with us this morning. Does that sound cool to you?
it sounds great. It sounds great. I'm really flattered that you asked and yeah, honored. Thanks for having me.
You betcha. Well, let's if you don't mind, let's hear a folk song, and then we have some kids that are working on some questions that we could ask you.
Cool. Yeah. This one. So I got a couple folk songs to sing, but they're all Bob Dylan songs because I think he's probably the greatest folk singer songwriter. And this one I didn't know before this week, and I've been learning it because I thought it like hit all of the quintessential folky points, and it's called Paths of Victory. And it's one of those kind of, with folk music, I feel like a lot of, there's different sides of folk music, but there's the work songs, and those I think really go, that just talk about the struggles that everyday people have. And that goes right along with another theme of folk music, which is like striving forward and making changes, and like conquering, like winning the day. They're hopeful songs, a lot of them. So this is Paths of Victory by Bob Dylan. Trails of troubles, roads of battles, paths of victory, we shall walk. The trail is dark and dusty, and my road is mighty rough. The better roads are waiting, and boys, it ain't far off. Oh, trails of troubles, roads of battles, paths of victory, we shall walk. I walk down by the river, I turn my head up high, I saw that silver lining just hanging from the sky. Trails of troubles, roads of battles, paths of victory, we shall walk. The evening dusk was rolling, I was walking down the track. There was a one-way wind blowing, and it was blowing at my back. Oh, trails of trouble, roads of battles, paths of victory, we shall walk. The gravel road is bumpy, it's a hard road to ride, but there's a clearer road waiting with the cinders on the side. Oh, trails of troubles, roads, battles, paths of victory, we shall walk. Trails of troubles, roads of battles, paths of victory, we shall walk.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Guys, give him a hand, a round of applause, please. That's awesome. Did a great job. What do you think that song was about there, Trav?
I think it's just a hopeful song. So that's one of the reasons I love it, because I mean, to be human is to have struggles and problems. And I really do think in a lot of folk songs, there are those that wallow in the problems and the troubles, and it can kind of, I don't know, accentuate them, or just kind of get them out into the light. And then there's that other tradition of the other side of it, of admitting that there's problems, but just talking about what's over the other ridge, what's just over the next hill, and it just brings hope. It's the same thing, like the civil rights movement was right there with folk music. They held hands in the 60s, and this kind of song of hope and change was really integral to a big part of the civil rights movement. And so, yeah, you can have like a huge crowd of people singing something about the change and the triumph that we're gonna have over the problems in our lives. But if you're a person, you can also just enjoy this song because you get down and you play a song that talks about how, like, I'm gonna win tomorrow, the next day, I'm gonna win, like no matter how bad today is. So that's why I love that song.
Yeah, I might be romanticizing here a bit, but this seems very, I know Bob Dylan didn't write that song for the COVID, but it just felt like to me, like, there's brighter days ahead with, we're going to be back in school in April. We're getting vaccinated. I mean, people are coming out of the woodwork a little more and more.
Yeah.
It feels great to hear a song like that to remind us that there are better days ahead of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what makes a song timeless, where it applies. It sounds like, oh, so you could have written this about COVID, even though he
Yeah.
wrote it 50 years ago.
Well, he was ahead of his time. I don't know if he meant to do that though. All right. Mr. Regan is our speech pathologist. He's an amazing guy. He's actually in a band himself. He played a folk song yesterday.
Yeah.
And he's been working with a couple students. Mr. Regan, do you want to facilitate a couple kids' questions here?
Sure, and that was lovely. That was really nice. Thanks for
Thank
playing.
you. Thank you, Mr. Regan.
So yeah, Xander, you had a great question. Would you like to ask Mr. Bonilla? Is it Bonilla or Bonilla?
You got it, Bonilla.
Who's your favorite folk musician and why?
Great question. Yeah. Thanks for the question. My favorite folk singer is Bob Dylan. Yeah, definitely. I come back to him all the time. And the reason why, I think he has really simple songs, like lyrically, like talking about just the words in that song can be real simple. But then he has other songs that are doing the same thing as other folk music, but gets really complicated and more poetic. And his songs are always open to interpretation. Meaning, like, somebody can take his songs and play them, with a full electric band behind them or just an acoustic guitar, and they always like sound good, I think. Yeah.
Excellent.
And Antonio had a great question too. Antonio, would you like to ask Mr. Bonilla your question?
What's your favorite folk song?
What's my favorite folk song? That's a tough one. I think the one I just played is right up there with my favorites. And there's another one called John Hardy that the Carter family plays. And I mean, that's like a song from, oh man, like 100 years ago, and a million folk musicians have played it. But yeah, I would look up John Hardy, Carter family. It's about it's part of that folk tradition that talks about criminals. There are a lot of folk songs that, yeah, talk about their murder ballads and just criminal songs, and that's one of them. It's pretty fun. Great question. Thanks, Antonio.
And I just would like to mention that John put a great question into the chat.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. He just asked, do you practice a lot?
Yeah, that I don't practice enough, and I feel like everybody that wants to be good at something, they got to practice, and it's probably normal to feel like you ain't practicing enough. If you really like something, you really want to strive to be better at it. But I think I'm at a stage where I'm not practicing to like learn. I don't get better at my instrument necessarily. I just try to play as often as I can, and that way I'm enjoying myself. It always brightens my mood. But I'm at that stage where I can just play some songs at least, and so the playing is as close to practicing as I get, and I try to do that, yeah, every night, a couple songs before bed.
That's a good practice. Just make sure you touch the guitar every night and sing a little bit before bed, kind of wind down. I kind of do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Kaylee, did you have a question, or a few more here? Kids working hard on their questions.
Okay. Where have you played music?
Good question, Kaylee. Like I've been in rock bands before, so I've played in clubs and bars, and I've played in cafes. That's probably like the most common place when you're just playing guitar. So yeah, I've never played to like thousands of people, but I've played to a couple hundred maybe. And yeah, it's playing in front of people is exhilarating, and it's a bit of work, and it's really scary, but man, it's really worth it because yeah, I don't know, you discover things about yourself, and when it works out, it's like one of the best feelings ever. It's exhilarating, but it's all about, for me, to get in front of people, to squash the fear. It's just about like practicing as much as you can and being as prepared as you can. That always helps me. But you'll never be ready. You just got to do it eventually. You just got to try it out.
Matthew, do you have your question? He went black screen on me, so I don't know. He might not be there. Matthew, are you there, bud? You had a great question to follow up what he just said.
What were you like in 8th grade?
Oh, in 8th grade. Yeah, that was a hard point, man. Like 7th and 8th grade were my hardest years, I think. I didn't have a lot of friends. I had my speakers in my room and I listened to a lot of Led Zeppelin.
Who is he?
But yeah, I think that, that kind of goes back to music. I had music, but not a lot else.
That's funny you say that. I had friends in 8th grade. It was a small town though. And I just really got into Green Day. Did you? We're about the same age probably, right? Did you get into Green Day a lot?
Yeah, Green Day was huge. But I mean, you asked me to be here for folk music, and one of the reasons I think is like, even back then, I've always loved the 60s and the 70s, which I think, yeah, it has more roots in folk music than something like Green Day. But yeah, I mean, Green Day was there, man, for sure. I had a Green Day shirt,
Just reminded me of that. We got maybe one more question, and then if you got another song. Crispin, do you have your question?
Yeah. If
Okay.
you could open up for anyone or bring, who would it be?
Whoa. That's a really good question, Crispin. Does it have to be like a band that's still alive, or is this kind of like a dream? It could be someone from the past still.
A dream.
A dream. Okay. Yeah, then I think I would want to open up for The Band, which they were a band from the 60s and 70s, and right in there with buddies with Bob Dylan, and they're just kind of like a rock band that also did a lot of folk music, but they kind of electrified it and took it to a new level. But yeah, I would want to open for them just because I'd love to see them when I was done with my set. This is a great question.
Great answer too. I love The Band.
What? Hang on. There's noise in the background. I'm sorry.
What? What'd you
Okay,
say?
do you have your question that you usually ask?
I didn't understand you. What?
I'm telling Miss Hardy. I'm sorry because there's noise in the background.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, honey. What?
Yeah, my mom was asking me what. Oh yeah. We said what is his name?
His name is Travis Bonilla.
What is the guy's name?
It's Travis.
So Travis,
Yeah.
are you there?
Yeah, Dakota, go ahead.
Do you like? I don't remember what his name. Oh yeah, Phil Collins.
Yeah, I like Phil Collins. Yeah.
Thanks,
He
Dakota.
he has a lot of like great music. He was in a band called Genesis in the 70s, and then the guy ruled the 1980s. Do you like Phil Collins, Dakota?
Yes, I do. In fact, have you ever heard of In the Air Tonight?
Yes. Yeah, that song, totally.
I can actually listen right now because I have my favorite station. I have Spotify. Right now, it's open right now.
That's a great song. Yeah, I mean the drums on it. That's always what I think of when I think of that song. And Phil Collins is a drummer.
Yeah, and whenever you hear drums, like when you read the bongos do this, boom, boom, bum bum near the. I'm more into guitar. I love guitars. I love drums.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I love guitars and drums too. Drums are so fun to play. I mean, talk about something that's that gives you like, an outlet when you're practicing drums. So fun.
Dakota and I are actually in a sort of a startup band. So if you ever need someone to open for you, come looking for us, me and Dakota.
Perfect.
We're sort of a duet country thing. We're working on it. We got a couple songs we're working on. So
Do you guys have a band name?
yeah, well, it's loose. I don't know if you ever heard of the band Florida Georgia Line. The country band.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna go with Oregon Washington Line and just see how it works.
Nice. Regional.
Yeah, we're going regional first. Before we.
Before the
But
world.
Trav, we got to, we got other classes today, unfortunately. So, and our kids did an awesome job at asking questions, don't you think? Weren't those great?
They were great. I had a great time, talking with you guys. Thanks for the questions.
Every day I get to talk to these guys. It's just like come to the family room and just talk for a few hours. It's all good.
You're a lucky man. They're lucky to
I know.
have you, man. They're lucky to have you, Jared.
Oh, thanks, Trav. I appreciate that. Well, yeah, man, if you got another song that would take us out and then we could take our break and head to math class, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I'll do another Bob Dylan song, which is what's it even called? You Ain't Going Nowhere. It's more of a winter song. Okay. Well, thanks for having me, everybody.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Introductions with this. Clouds so swift, rain won't lift, gate won't close, railings froze. Get your mind off winter time. You ain't going nowhere. Ooh-wee, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. We gonna fly down in the easy chair. Now buy me a flute and a gun that shoots. Tailgate substitute. Strap yourself to a tree with roots. You ain't going nowhere. Ooh-wee, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. We gonna fly down in the easy chair. He could not keep all his kings alive with sleep. We'll climb that hill no matter how steep. When we get up to it, ooh-wee, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. We gonna fly down in the easy chair.
Great song to end with, man. That was great. I love Bob Dylan, and his library is enormous, right? Like so many songs.
It's incredible, and he's still going. So he's still going.
Have you ever met him before or seen him live or anything?
No,
Just
I've
curious.
never seen him live, and I regret it. I really do. But his voice has completely changed, and that used to stop me from wanting to go see him. But he keeps adapting, and he's an amazing writer. He's a Nobel laureate now.
For sure. All right, Trav, in honor of St. Patrick's Day, I'd like to give a toast to you here, okay, my friend? So here's a nice, does anybody else have anything to drink, even a water bottle or anything? We're going to thank our friend Travis, and we're going to say, may your home always be too small to hold all your friends, okay? Cheers to you, buddy. Thanks for coming on today.